Fair warning, there's a Breaking Bad spoiler in this one. I hate tanks. I hate them so much. They're bulky, they're hard to kill, they do almost as much damage as assassins. Even if I win my lane, the tanks just feel like they take over and they're just so... Okay, I have abused tanks for elo as well, but to be fair, I am a top laner, so I think I'm excused from this one. Okay, I mean, I'm a top laner. That's right. I mean, just about every top laner has abused tanks for elo at some point. I mean, we've all done it. So it's like how every single athlete has abused some type of steroids in their career, and it's part of the job. It's part of the role. Frankly, I'm more surprised when I find out an athlete is not on steroids. I mean, you wouldn't even take steroids to win? Wow, you're a bitch. Hi there, my name's Donghua. Let's talk about tanks. Why are tanks so strong? Why has this tank meta been around for ages? Every single season, tank meta just resurfaces, comes back down, then resurfaces and comes back down. It's so annoying. Why are tanks so strong and how do you deal with them? Now, I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist necessarily. I'm not, it's really hard to know anything these days, right? I mean, how do you know anything for sure? Like, take Obama, for example, right? How can you know anything real about Obama? How do you know anything for sure about this guy? I mean, can you be sure that Obama was really the first black president? What if there were other secret, hidden black presidents? What if some black people were super qualified for president, but they couldn't be because they were black, so they got secret white people to be figureheads? How do we know for sure? What if Abraham Lincoln was a closeted black man? I mean, can you be sure that he wasn't? Have you ever met Abraham? No, you can't. You can't be sure. This has a point, I promise. You know why the tank meta lasts so long? One of the biggest reasons is because people think that roles can be equal. That everything has a counter and everything counters something else. AD carries are countered by assassins because assassins have burst. Assassins are countered by tanks because tanks cannot be bursted. And tanks are countered by AD carries because somehow AD carries deal more damage than tanks? No, they don't. No, there has never been an instance where AD carries were really that good against tanks. Since when the fuck have tank players been afraid of AD carry players? I don't ever remember when this happened. Sure, Vayne and Kog'Maw are scary, but that's just because they are designed to kill tanks. They are literally dubbed tank busters. But other regular AD carries? Oh, Ashe. Oh, I'm so afraid of Ashe. And those Caitlyn players. Horrifying. Oh my god. AD carries are better than tanks in the late game because their items scale better. So that means tanks are stronger than AD carries during the early and mid game, which means for most of the game, tanks are not countered by AD carries. Look at it this way. What is an AD carry? What is, in the simplest terms, what is an AD carry? An AD carry is basically a guy with a gun. And simply put, what is a tank? A tank is a tank. It's got armor, it's a lot bigger, and it's gonna run their ass over. Who do you think is gonna win between this and this? There is only one thing that truly counters tanks, alright? And it is not a role. No role counters tanks by themselves. The only thing that counters tanks is CC and a large amount of AD and AP damage. In other words, only teamwork counters tanks. Riot is conspiring to make the tank meta last longer than the other ones to promote teamwork in their game, to smooth over that transition into dynamic queue, to make things easier than they already are for dynamic queue players. That's the conspiracy. They are corrupted and abusing their power. Riot is discreetly trying to make me get along with my teammates. How dare they promote teamwork in a team-based game? Disgusting. The only real thing that counters a fed tank is teamwork. It starts in the champ select. The biggest reason that I hate the tank meta is because of what champions I am forced to play. Generally, I love playing Quinn. She's so much fun to me. She's just a mobile assassin that just flies around the map. She's so much fun. But in the tank meta, I can't play her. I can never get her off because every single game I'm just up against a Nautilus, a Malphite, a Rammus. It's impossible for me to play an assassin in the top lane against a tank meta. You also can't run full attack damage comps anymore in the tank meta. In the assassin or the mage or the AD carry meta, you can run whatever the fuck you want because most of the time the enemy team will also have 5 squishy champions and they can't abuse the armor stacking to that extent. But if you're against tanks, basically once someone on their team gets 300 armor, that person will probably never die ever again. All of your damage would also be reduced by things like Randuin's and Frozen Heart. You might have to pick up a different champion if you are, say, a Zed-only player, or a Talon-only, or a Jace, or something like that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to start duoing with Fiddlesticks players. One of the big reasons that the tank meta hasn't shifted over into a different meta is because of the mid lane. Right now, in general, mages are very weak. Their items are all extremely expensive. Death Cap has never been this expensive in the history of League of Legends. Zhonya's is barely worth it for what you're paying. These are the top 10 most popular mid laners. 6 of these champs are assassins, 2 of them are teamfight orientated mages, 1 of them is a long range burst mage, and only 1 of them is a consistent DPS mage who's very good at killing tanks. There's very little reason to play mages if everyone's just gonna play an assassin. Currently, approximately 80% of all mid lane champions being played right now are classified as an assassin. We tanks don't need to build that much magic resist if we're just going to be up against an assassin most of our games. They're going to be focusing the backline, not me. Why would I care? I don't care if I have magic resist. He's not even going to be hitting me. LeBlanc focuses backline, not me, so I'll just get more armor. And this leads back into teamwork when you're dealing with tanks. You want to know why tanks do better at lower elos rather than higher elos? Throughout lower and average elos, champions like a Mumu and Sion do very well, and they're extremely tanky. But once you climb that elo ladder, once you get a bit higher, these champions begin to fall in their win rates. The reason that tanks do so much better in the lower elos is because no one in the lower and average elos know how to teamfight. People just ignore the tank. They don't care about the tank. They just only care about focusing the carries. It's called team fighting, not solo diving. Team fighting is about identifying and eliminating the biggest threat. If their carry mispositions and gets a little bit too close, then yes, absolutely punish him for it. I hate it when my AD carry mispositions, gets caught, dies instantly, and then blames his team. I hate it when they do that. But what I'm sure AD carries hate just as much is when they get dove by 2 tanks and the only person peeling for them is their support, and then everyone's flaming them for dying too early. How the fuck is an AD carry and a support supposed to peel off 2 tanks? Tanks have a lot of armor, so the AD carry doesn't do that much damage to them, and supports, they're just there to delay the tanks, and they don't do any damage to anyone, really. Team fighting, it's like a street fight. No, not that street fight, this street fight. There's chaos all around you, threats everywhere, shit's blowing up all around you. Team fighting is about being able to track multiple things at once, being able to track what you can kill and what other people can kill. The more things you can pay attention in a team fight, the better you'll be at it. Now, let's say that in this team fight, there is a huge, bulky white guy with a bulletproof vest right in front of you. He doesn't have any weapons, all he's got are his fists, but he is huge. I mean, look at this guy, he's fucking he's scary, isn't he? And we'll call him Hank the Tank. And behind Hank the Tank, he's got a few guys with guns backing him up. Now, these guys don't have vests, they don't have a lot of armor, they're really squishy and they're really easy to kill, but they're pretty far away. Now, obviously, the guys with guns will do more damage over time because they're guys with guns. They're guns. But this big, bulky dude is right here. He's right in front of you. He's huge. And sure, his fists might not do as much damage as the guns immediately, but they're still gonna really hurt. You gotta take care of him first. If you don't, he's just gonna run over all your friends with guns. The front line doesn't just dive the back line. The front line is also meant to protect your back line. Here is an accurate portrayal of what happens when an ADC doesn't get any peel. Tank walks up for free. Yo, team, I need some help. I need some peel from this really scary... And look, the tank didn't even take any damage from the AD carry.
Mundo too strong for you.
A lot of assassins just, they refuse to do anything about tanks. They just ignore them. They save everything for diving the backline. And if their ADC is the main threat, if he is the main thing you gotta get rid of, then yes, that is absolutely correct to do. But if your ADC is the only thing that can kill that tank, well then you kinda need him, don't you? If you're the only source of AP damage on your team, and the tank has like 400 armor, well then it becomes your job to kill that tank. No one else is really gonna be doing damage to a 400 armor Maokai. Everyone does damage to 80 carries, even supports can chunk 80 carries for a bit. When you're focusing the tank as an assassin, don't think of it as ignoring the 80 carry. Think of it as removing the big scary white guy protecting the 80 carry. Team fighting is about identifying and neutralizing the biggest threat. If their tank is the biggest threat, you kill him first. CC him, kite him, run him back. Even though Hank the Tank is really bulky and he's really hard to kill with all that plot armor, if 4 to 5 people focus him all at once, then he will go down. If you listen to pros' voice comms while they are team fighting, you will find a similar theme.
Nice, front line, we get out of here. Jax. I'll take you right, Jackson. Jax, I'm on Jax. Jax,
That's how you deal with tanks.